Welcome to Game Show Network's Fools of April, an entire evening of hilarious comedians featured on classic game shows. Now, here's your host, Jimmie Good Times Walker. Ain't we lucky we got him?
Good evening. It's great to be here performing on the legendary Game Show Network stage, especially to be hosting the Fools of April. Tonight, you'll see Milton Berle, Lou Costello, Bob Newhart. You know, I learned a lot by watching these guys when I was a kid, but then somebody purchased a TV from the local pawn shop, and we just had to watch that pair of skis instead. Our first Fool of April is a guy known to be a jerk, a lonely guy, a dirty, rotten scoundrel. And that's even before he got into show business. Let's watch Steve Martin on The Gong Show. Hey, how about that episode of The Gong Show, huh? You know, I haven't seen that much talent on stage since I went to the LA Clippers home opener in 1997, 98, 99, 2000. And what about that banjo playing Steve Martin? We've both come a long way since the 70s. While Steve got stuck hosting the Oscars, I get to host this. Stay right where you are. We got a lot more laughs coming your way, right here on Game Show Network's Fools of April. What I know is that I had a TV show named after me. Something about Texas Ranger. You know, I wasn't even in the thing. Now put your hands together and welcome the star of Newhart, Bob, the Bob Newhart Show. Wonder who that could be. You guessed it. It's Bob Newhart on Password. You know, I like the way people play Password, man. People always try to give those little clues, a little edge, you know. They like saying clues like Albuquerque. You know, Albuquerque. What are you doing? Cheating. Check this out. Did you know that Bob Newhart had a #1 comedy album in 1960, beating out Elvis Presley and The Sound of Music? Of course, back then, people thought indoor plumbing was cool. Now, stick around, because next we have Elvis's favorite Elvis impersonator, Andy Kaufman, on The Dating Game.
It's time for more of Game Show Network's Fools of April with your MC, the master of comedy, Jimmie Walker.
Before Jim Carrey was Andy Kaufman was Andy Kaufman. And while he was Andy Kaufman, he was also Bashe Kinga, or at least he said he was, on this 1978 episode of The Dating Game. You know, Andy was a comedian that many people love to hate. And tonight I'm getting the same feeling from this crowd. Hey, here's Andy, this time as Bachelor number 3. Well, Andy, Bashe certainly stole the show, but he couldn't steal the heart of Bachelorette Patrice. I guess it's like they say, just be yourself. Of course, in Andy's case, it's hard to tell exactly who that is. 4 years after this appearance, viewers of Saturday Night Live voted Andy off that show forever. Fortunately for me, there's no phone-in poll to Game Show Network tonight. Is there?
Game Show Network's Fools of April continues with your host, the man who put the O in dynamite, Jimmie Walker.
Our next Fool of April was half the Abbott and Costello comedy team, or more than half, depending on how you measure. Who's on first? What's on second? I've got a better question. How? How did they milk that for 25 years? I only wish I could have come up with my own catchphrase. Hey, here's Lou Costello back in 1957 on I've Got a Secret. Like Madonna, Lou sure knows how to strike a pose. Let's just be thankful Lou wasn't cast as Evita. You see that lady tear the phone book in half with her bare hands? I don't mean to be bragging or anything, but it only took me one try to rip up the scripts for this show. Don't go anywhere, because we got the king of late night, David Letterman, on Password Plus, coming up right after this.
It's time for more of Game Show Network's Fools of April with your MC, Mr. Comedy, Jimmie J.J. Walker.
Hey, thanks. You know, being on this stage brings back memories of being on a few game shows myself, like Match Game, Tattletales. But tonight's not about me. It's about other comic geniuses. Up next is David Letterman, who forever changed the style of late-night television. You know, it's rumored that Dave will not stay on location for longer than 5 minutes to do a film cameo. But I have got that beat. My films spend less than 5 minutes in the theater. But luckily for us, Dave was coasting to staying for this entire 1979 game show taping. So let's welcome David Letterman on Password Plus. Oh, man! I'm happy to report that a cardiac team was standing by to take care of that contestant, Sally, when the show was done taping. She did set a record, though, that day on the EKG. Speaking of heart problems, Dave isn't the only guy to go through a bypass. I myself have been bypassed by agents, managers, producers, directors. Stay where you are. We got more comedy legends coming your way on Game Show Network's Fools of April.
Game Show Network's Fools of April continues with your host, the man who put the O in dynamite, Jimmie Walker.
Oh, you know, next we've got What's My Line from way back in 1964. We used to play this game, except back then we called it What's My Unemployment Line. The next Fool of April is Woody Allen, one of the most prolific writer-directors of our time. We get to see Woody before Manhattan, before Annie Hall, and definitely before anything else you might know him for. Let's welcome our next Fool of April. Here's Woody Allen on What's My Line? Hey, What's My Line? A real classic. You know, when I was a kid growing up in the ghetto, we used to make up our own game shows. Yeah, let's see, there was The Vice is Right. What else? Oh, yeah. The Wheel of Misfortune. And, yeah, my personal favorite, Who Wants to Beat Up a Millionaire? Up next, we've got another comedian turned talk show host, but unlike Letterman, this one chews the fat in the daytime. Rosie O'Donnell is our next Fool of April, right after this.
Game Show Network's The Fools of April. Brought to you by Imodium Advanced. Faster relief you can count on.
It's time for more of Game Show Network's Fools of April with your MC, the maestro of comedy, Jimmie Walker.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. Next, we've got Rosie O'Donnell on Celebrity Jeopardy. Rosie, of course, started her career doing stand-up, then moved on to host her own TV show. Now she's created her very own magazine, kind of like me. I started my career doing stand-up, moved on to do my own TV show. Now I subscribe to some magazines. Here's Rosie doing what she does best, asking questions and making smart aleck remarks. Go, Rosie girl. Wee! In the world of questions, Rosie certainly kicked some serious ass. But I love Jeopardy. It's another game show that I grew up with. We not only played it, we lived it. Now stay right where you are, because you're not going to want to miss our final Fool of April. He's a real drag.
Game Show Network's Fools of April continues with your host, the man who put the O in dynamite, Jimmie Walker.
Hey, thanks for watching the Fools of April. You know, we'd be fools ourselves if we didn't feature an appearance by Mr. Television, Milton Berle. Uncle Milty was actually the first man to appear on television back in 1928. Shortly after that, he put on a wig and gown and became one of the first women to appear on television. Here he teams with another comedy legend, Mr. Steve Allen, on I've Got a Secret. Oh, man. How about Uncle Milty dressed up as Aunt Milty? I've got a secret, huh? Not anymore. Hey, Milty, RuPaul wants his dress back. Well, it's been a fabulous night of outrageous comedians and classic game shows. It's been a tremendous honor being your host for Game Show Network's Fools of April. Now that it's over, well, I guess it's a temporary layoff. Back to shucking and surviving. And oh, yeah, good times. Ain't we lucky we got them? Good night, everybody, and thanks for watching.